Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? This is Owen Knight, the working team captain, and I'm here live with CCP Podcasting. So, whatever you're doing, stop what you're doing, hit the like button, and tune in. If you don't like our opinion, who cares? If you like our opinion, like, share, and follow. And just remember, all work is easy work. Now, get your lazy ass up and get to work.
What is happening, friends of CCP Podcasting? Welcome back to Beyond the Bell. I am Chris Page. That is John Cable, and I believe in Joe Hendry. John, what's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, the Joe Hendry love on this channel has grown exponentially real in the past few days. It has been amazing. I
Well,
am doing well. I hope that everybody out there is doing well as well. Yeah, I hope we're all doing well today. We've come back for a very, very, very interesting thing. I know something that I've been looking forward to for months. You guys have been talking about it with us every chance we get. I know you've been looking forward to it too.
I have. So, jumping into the rabbit hole of independent wrestling, you don't ever know where it's going to take you. And our adventures thus far have led us down some really good rabbit holes and some not so good rabbit holes, but more good than bad. And you know,
Say that wrestling's like a box of chocolates.
I say that wrestling brings people together, and
Oh, yeah, that also.
and
Yes.
this is another
Like a box
example.
of chocolates.
Nope, I'm not doing the Forrest Gump. I'm from Alabama, and I know that's why you did it. So fuck you. Um, Reality is this: we don't ever know what's going to happen, and our Inside the Indies kind of started it all for us on the channel with Riot City out of Australia, and since then, you get the notifications just like I do, or the hey, you should probably watch this based off of your searches, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm pleased for this for two reasons. Number one, it's building relationships with another country. And that happens to have some good wrestling going on that you might not be too familiar with. And that's what we're here for. We want to introduce you to it because you should definitely keep your eyes on it. We started watching WrestleFest 2 out of Portugal several months back, it seems like. And realistically, John, the guys, the talent on the show invaded our chat. One of the individuals
Good word for it.
that invaded the chat is, and again, a piece of why I was like, ooh, we need to talk to this guy, is a gentleman who is kind of responsible for putting that event together, not just WrestleFest 2, also WrestleFest, and upcoming this weekend, actually tomorrow as this interview airs, WrestleFest 3 is happening. I'm going to botch the name, and go ahead and get ready to laugh at me and make fun of me. But we've got Nelson Pereira coming into the show, and I fucked it up. I know I did. What's going on, Nelson?
Actually, that was pretty good. That was pretty
Pretty
good.
good.
Was it? Did I not?
Greetings, everybody.
Did I not screw the pooch too bad?
Oh, actually,
It was
like
it was
you,
close.
you said it worse before. Like that that was like
No,
good.
don't shit on
When
me.
the red light's on, you're a pro. When the red light's on, you got it right.
I mean, I'm not. I'm gonna say thank you, but I think other live shows might might disagree with you. But how are you, man? What's going on in Portugal? How are you doing? What's going on?
I'm all good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be talking to you guys about Portuguese wrestling, about WrestleFest, about all that. Like, thank you for having me. Like, that's pretty good and like pretty nice for you to thank you for your support of WrestleFest mostly. Like, thank you. Like,
Oh, the honor is all ours, sir.
Yeah, just I mean, if you'd have had shitty wrestling, I don't know what I'd tell you, but you had some. Yeah, it was a really good card, and this is why I say the rabbit hole of independent wrestling, and kind of how our paths crossed. John, YouTube is a thing, right? And that's where we get a lot of our content from, so that we can watch it back. And YouTube has a way of like kind of algorithm your search engines a little bit. It always shows you things that you should watch based on what you've already been looking at. We had been looking at shows all over the world. One Monday at 5:30 p.m., I was like, John, what are we watching? Our show's at 7 Eastern on Monday nights. I don't know. So I pop open YouTube.
John says, "Well, let's look in the search bar and see what we can stumble across." And stumble we did.
I opened up YouTube, and one of the first things that I see is WrestleFest 2. So I say, hey, John, what about going to Portugal? You feel like going to Portugal tonight?
And I
Absolutely.
said, "Portugal? There's wrestling in Portugal? Yes, let's go look at it," because I had never known. I
With
am I am not as fairly traveled as I'd like to be, and I don't go through the rabbit hole as often as I probably should. But this is exactly why we do it, because we find things in places that we would never look when we just go out and open our eyeballs. And that's exactly what we did. We went out and opened our eyes, and this dropped into our lap. And it wasn't just that it dropped into our lap, it was that you guys all dropped into our laps too. With barely an hour's notice before the show, we popped a graphic up on Twitter. Paige posted the ad for that show that night. You guys saw it and jumped in like hungry sharks. You wanted to show your product so bad, and we enjoyed that aspect so much that this is where it's led us to today.
absolutely.
Yeah, like and the funny thing about this is like, so you do it at 7 Eastern. It's midnight here. So like
Right.
we all stayed up like just to be able to just be there and talk about it. Because like yeah, we were excited because like as we're gonna get into like Portuguese wrestling, like I'm very passionate about it, obviously, and we all are, and we all think it's pretty good. But like because Portugal is such a small country in like literally isolated in Europe, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like it's hard for us to get the word out of how good Portuguese wrestling is. So like suddenly we have people who just don't know us from anywhere, and they just decided to talk about it. It's like, hell yeah, we're gonna be curious and see like what they want, and like we're gonna help them enjoy it. Like if we can give them context or everything, like
Oh, you guys
we're in.
did. You guys brought the whole history book and dropped the library of knowledge on our heads, and it was amazing. It was a great interaction for us. It was a great interaction for our chat that night. You guys had a blast. We definitely enjoyed the show, and so did our audience. And that was what built this foundation of our interest in what you've got going on. And the interest isn't just because, oh, well, they came out to talk to us. That was a factor in it, but you guys have a product, and the fact that you've put together this product on a regular basis now shows a great consistency, not just in you guys being able to put on a show, but you guys have shown great consistency in your roster's talent to be able to make that show worth it. And that was very interesting.
Like yeah, we like again. I think Portuguese wrestling is very good. Our wrestlers are full of talent. They just need like to get out there, like people to know them, and like that's the first thing. Like I decided, like when we started doing WrestleFest shows, I was like, the most important thing is to have good production, have it well filmed, well edited, different camera angles and stuff, because I knew I was going to want to put them on YouTube, and like there's a million wrestling shows on YouTube, right? There's like from everywhere in the world, and like I think it happened to everybody where like you find some random show, you put it on, and then it's like just a hard cam in like the corner of a room, and like even if they can have the greatest wrestlers in the world, but you don't want to like like it's hard to watch if it's not good, like if the production's not good, right?
Yeah,
So
if the
like
whole show is fan cam, you're like, oh man, the
exactly.
moves are great, but man, if he could just
Hmm.
hold still, that would be awesome.
So like it was like the main thing is like if this is good, if it's well produced, you guys I know are awesome, and well, you guys like the roster, like I know you guys are great. Like let's show you guys to the world, like that's like really the number one thing about WrestleFest is show Portuguese wrestling to the world. Like that's my main goal with it.
I mean, and you're in the process of doing that. Like that's no lie.
Yeah.
Um, let's start this off. Let's actually talk about WrestleFest because again, as of this recording, peeling the curtain back, we haven't sat down and watched WrestleFest one with you yet. That's coming up here in a couple of weeks. But let's peel it back a little bit and kind of get into the aspect of WrestleFest. What made you want to like? Let me see how I can word this question and word it like correctly. I guess what made you want to dive in and put on a show outside of showing what the product looks like and what the talent looks like? When did the wheel start turning that, all right, this is something that I want to really try and do? And what kind of struggles did you have to go through in order to get WrestleFest 1 off the ground? I guess that's probably the best place to start.
Well, because realistically, anybody that's a wrestler can wrestle, but you went above and beyond just being a worker. You put together something to showcase your entire area, to showcase your country, and to put that talent out there on a much bigger stage than just the night of the show. So, what was the transition like there, and what was the thought process behind that, and what drove you for that?
Okay. So actually, like, so this is it's a funny story because like, so that was like, uh, at first, the real really the first idea was never to actually have a promotion or anything like that. So what happened is, so like Portuguese wrestling, there's Portuguese wrestling for a long time. Okay, there's several promotions, and for a long time, the issue with Portuguese wrestling, in my opinion, was that it was a very like gang atmosphere. You train at one school,
The
you
tribalism.
you yeah, exactly. You trained at one school, you wrestled on their shows, you couldn't work with other guys, whatever. All that's like I think it happens in everywhere, like in small areas where there is wrestling. It just happens everywhere, right? But like in Portugal, it's even sadder because there's I don't know less than 50 professional wrestlers in Portugal. So if we're less than 50 overall and we're all divided by three groups and nobody works anybody, that's just you just end up wrestling the same people over and over again. It's
That's
just not fun, right?
counterproductive.
So
But it
so
was the
yeah, go.
mentality of the entire industry for a long time. I mean, we still see that in the mainstreams with contract negotiations and trading rosters. Like that's been a big plague for the entire industry. And to see it on such a small scale, like you said, that you're looking at 15, 16-man rosters that rotate each other.
Exactly. So the thing is, so like COVID happened, right? COVID happened, and me personally, so like the promotion I was working for, we kind of we've had issues, which actually ended up, I guess, blowing up, exploding during COVID. So I ended up not having a promotion because again, at that time, like you had to choose one gang, right? You had to choose one promotion to work, or and so like here, COVID, the one I'm wrestling for, I'm not working for anymore. Okay, what am I going to do, right? And the worst part about it is like, when you're part of a group, they tell you, yeah, don't go work for the other group because they won't accept you now because you're coming from the other one. Like,
Hmm.
this dumb bullshit actually, because like, so COVID, so that happens during COVID, and then um, so that's 2020, right?
Hmm.
2021, 2022, and stuff. Finally, like 2021, 2022, COVID starting to stop, and in my mind, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just retire. I've been wrestling since 2013. I've only wrestled for that one company, but I had opportunities to wrestle abroad. I've been to the UK, I've been to Canada. I was lucky enough to go to Japan as well. Like I've had those opportunities. So I was like, I did more for in wrestling than I expected. I'm just gonna retire. That was my first idea. But then a friend of mine from Canada, actually a promoter from Canada, he just showed up and he was like, "Hey, I want you on that show." That was 2021, I think. No, 2022. Sorry, 2022. And he was like, "Yeah, I want you on that show." And I was like, "Yeah, I haven't wrestled in a year and a half." And he was like, "I don't care. I want you on that show." So I went, I did that show, and then I was like, "You know what? I love wrestling, so I'm not retiring." And at the same time, uh, there's a guy in Portugal who had an idea of like he was going to run a show, and for the first time, he actually tried to book people from everywhere, from every school, from every promotion. And to my surprise, I saw everyone accepting the bookings. Like suddenly, you had people who worked in the promotion I used to work that are now accepting bookings where they're going to wrestle people from the other school, which they never had accepted before. And I was like, okay, so now that I just like now that I decide to leave wrestling or that I was pretty much off, that's when you start working together, you fucking dicks. And so I
Do you
was
ever
like, you know
think that
what?
maybe they just didn't want to all work with you?
Exactly. I was like,
That's
yeah, you guys hate me. Uh, but so what happened was because that was around the same time where I was supposed to go to Canada to wrestle, right? And so I needed to like at least work out a little bit in the ring, you know, just because it's been a year and a half. So I end up going to one of the promotions that was in Portugal. Not the same one I used to wrestle at, but another one for the first time. And I was like, "Hey guys, can I come and work out with you?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure, come on in." And so that's when you discover that the story of yeah, people are not gonna like you because you come from like that's bullshit, you know. Like if you just we just all love wrestling, and so by going to train there to get ready for my match, I met that promoter, and I was like, "Hey, if there's a spot on that show, I'd love to be on it." And he books me on that show. Actually, I was supposed to wrestle Paulo on this show. I was supposed to have that match, and then what happened was the show was canceled. I don't know exactly what
Hmm.
happened. There was a lot of stuff going on. The show ended up never happening. And the show was supposed to happen on September 2022, and in August it was canceled. And when it was canceled, I was bummed because I was like, you know what? Finally, we were going to have like a big show where everybody was going to work with everybody. It was going to be so cool, so fun, and the show doesn't happen. So I turned to two of my friends, and they were like, you know what? Today is is August 18th, and the date is relevant because it's like the show is today is August 18th, and the show is canceled. My birthday is March 18th, so I have exactly 7 months until my birthday. You guys, I'm gonna run a show on my birthday. Like if this show is canceled, I'm gonna run it myself. I had no idea how I was going to run it myself, but I just threw it into the universe. Like I'm gonna run a show, and so um, I literally had no idea how I was going to do it. It just got on point, got on board with me. My two friends who still run WrestleFest with me to this day, and we started trying to run a show. So like, at first, the first idea was for me to just finance it myself. So that was the thing is like I'm gonna run it on my birthday because I knew I was going to spend a lot of money on it because everybody that's been involved in independent wrestling knows how expensive that is to run a
Yeah.
show, es- especially if you don't have a ring and you have to rent a ring and all that stuff. Um, so I knew it was going to be tough, but I was like, you know what? If I do it on my birthday, I can justify it. You know, it's like investing money in a birthday party. You know, instead of doing like a big birthday party, I'm just going to run a big wrestling show. Um, and so I was trying to find a venue that would accept it. Just doing, I was like, and to be honest with you guys, it wasn't going good. It wasn't going good. But then one of the guys that runs WrestleFest with me, which I'm not gonna reveal his real name because he has another role in WrestleFest and he doesn't want to be publicly known that he actually
Yeah,
runs the
absolutely no
company.
need to peel the curtain that far
Nope.
back.
Exactly. But he had the idea of like, hey, the city I'm from, which is Almada, uh, they're like they always like to support like young people trying stuff, you know. So what if I just email them, like email the town, and just ask them to just lend us a venue for free? That's just all what we wanted. Like, hey, just give us a spot where we can run the show. And so and that's after like visiting a million different places that were either too expensive or didn't want wrestling or the roof was too low, like a bunch of stuff. Um, and not only they said okay, they actually contacted us and were like, hey guys, like we want to actually like support the show financially, like we want to purchase the show.
Ooh,
And like it was funny because it was like we weren't expecting that at all. Like we're in like a Zoom
you're
meeting,
like,
just
can
like
I
I'm
have a
now.
corner to play in? And they're like, yeah, let me buy you a building.
That's pretty much it. Like we were literally in a Zoom meeting, like right now, and I remember the lady just turning to us, and she just turned to us and she was like, "Hey, yeah, okay, that's very cool." Like I kind of explained wrestling to her, you know. Her name is Joanna. Shout out if she's watching this. She's not, but shout out because she
You never
saved us.
know who's watching.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't know. It's so crazy. You don't know. She
like
might be.
like she's like awesome, and she was like, "Yeah, good. How much is that going to cost us?" And we just like stopped, and we were on Zoom, so I was just looking at them on their cameras, and I was like, "What does she mean? Like she wants to pay for this?" Like that was not like the idea.
Yeah, that wasn't quite what we were asking for,
Yeah,
but we appreciate the offer. Let me tell you.
exactly. And so like that happened, and so okay, so now I have a venue and I have a little bit of a budget. I don't need to just spend it all from out of pocket. And so that was Almada WrestleFest One, which is the show that we that we're gonna watch together. Um, and the thing is, so that was where the name came from. Because at the beginning, it was supposed to be a one and done. It was just supposed to be a show on my birthday. So I was like, you know what? WrestleFest is not a very original name. It's been used a million times. Uh, but like everybody understands what it is.
Yep.
Uh, and in Portuguese, actually, like the word party is festa, which is fest with an A at the end. So there's this little thing, and it was like that's gonna be pretty cool. So I decided to call it Almada, which is the name of the town, WrestleFest, and that was the idea. And then we ran the show, which was the most stressing moment of my life. Like it was my birthday. Um, we had an issue with the van that I rented to go pick up the ring. So we were supposed to have the ring set up at like 2 p.m. the day before. We ended up being able to set it up by 10 p.m. The day before. Like it was
Hey, at
just
least
like
it was still in the day before category. Like,
Yep.
yeah, true,
difficulties. Show
dude.
stuff always has a snafu snag.
If you would have been if you would have been the day of, I would have a heart attack, I think. But um, we just like yeah. So we did the show, and the show went very well. Like everybody loved the show, and not only because I think it was a great show personally, but because everybody, all the wrestlers, they were so happy to be able to finally work everybody to work together, which was the original plan. And so everybody after the show were like, "Hey Nelson, I know you said it was a one-off, but it can't be a one-off. Like, hey, like run more." And luckily, um, one of the people that runs with me, uh, he knew the. He's not really the mayor, but I'm gonna say the mayor because it's easier for you guys to understand. But like the mayor of another town, okay, who also wanted a show. And So we ran a second show.
Now you have a series.
Exactly. We ran a second show, and this one actually was crazy to us because it was at Parque Meyer. Parque Meyer is a venue in Portugal where they used to have wrestling back in the 40s and 50s.
Oh,
Okay, so
so a
like
callback to like the heritage of you guys even doing what you do.
exactly, and everybody knows about it, but of course it's like 70 years ago. Like there hasn't been wrestling there since the 50s, you know. And it was always like the joke between us, like yeah, one day Portuguese wrestling is gonna be big again, and we're gonna run that venue. And but it was always like kind of that joke, and like now we have the opportunity to actually do it, and so we did. And this time it's not in Almada; it's actually in the middle of Lisbon. So we called it Lisbon WrestleFest, and that's our second show. And then Almada, which is the first city where we ran, came back to us and were like, "Hey, you know, guys, what? We said we want you back next year, but actually, we want you back again this year if it's possible."
Of
So
course, it's
we went.
possible. Yes.
So we ran a second show in Almada, and we didn't want to call it Almada WrestleFest 2 yet, because in our mind now Almada WrestleFest is like our WrestleMania, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we just called it Straight Out of Almada, you know, as like the Straight Out of Compton kind of
Mm-hmm.
meme thing, and we called it like this, and then that was like last September, I think, or October or November, something like end of the year, and then Almada WrestleFest 2 was this March, and now the show that we're gonna have, you said this weekend, right? By the time they're gonna be watching,
Mm-hmm. It'll be
is gonna
tomorrow.
actually, yeah, is actually going to be Lisbon WrestleFest 2,
So,
because we're going to go back to Park Mayer to that big famous venue. And so, yeah, but pretty much that's the way we've been running now. We've been trying to like get in touch with people um, who are part of the I guess the local government, you know, in charge of like cities and parishes and stuff, and like we just go to them and be like, hey, we're wrestlers. Now we have a ring because I purchased the ring. Now I don't need to rent one.
Man, investing in the resources. I love it.
Exactly. Uh, hey, we have a ring. We have wrestlers. We already did those shows. We want to bring wrestling to your city. All we ask you is you gave us a little budget so we can cover our costs and do a great show. And all of our shows for now have been free to attend. So like, there's been wrestling fans that show up, which in Portugal, every show, like every regular show where you have to buy a ticket, you can count between 150 to 200 people now. Our shows, because they're free to attend and they bring not only the wrestling fans, but also people who just, hey, there's a free show in town, let's go. We've been lucky to have Almada WrestleFest 1 had 350 people. The Lisbon WrestleFest 1 had 400.
Growing.
So,
Love it.
yeah,
I love it.
so just,
Man,
yeah, so
it's
like,
it's so cool that you guys have a system there that sets up for the cities to use funding for something like that. When we talked with Cruz not that long ago, he was talking about how you guys have that kind of structure over there, and that the cities actually provide a small budget for a show like that
mm,
for the citizens, and that is so cool that they're willing to support the industry that way, and they look at it more like an arts outreach than they do, just you guys putting on a show for profit. And the fact that they support you guys that way is incredible. I think that if places here in America did that, we would see indies go even further than they are. The whole industry is rising right now, but for them to add it into like a theater's budget or an arts budget, man, that would be huge for the whole industry. And the fact that you guys have that opportunity is impressive.
yeah, and like, honestly, like, shout out to Almada, who were the first ones to like believe in us. Because, like, it's not something that hadn't been tried before by other promoters, you know? But, like, there's always this weird connotation, like, people think wrestling, they think violence, or they think, like, like it's hard, you know? Especially in Portugal, well, wrestling doesn't exist. Like like wrestling used to be big again, as I said, in the 40s and 50s. It's been 70 years since then. Like there were promotions, but we were running literally before COVID. It was tough to have 80 people show up. You know, like it's almost non-existent. People don't know what it is. They just didn't want to invest. What worked is Almada trusted us on the first one, and then once you have the first one, you have like a proof of concept, right? That you can like
Well, that's a
bring
lot
to
of
other
weight
places.
for you guys to carry into that first show too. You guys are given a massive opportunity, and
Let's
you
make or
guys have
break.
big
Yeah.
dreams. Yeah, it is absolutely. If anything goes wrong and it costs them money or something happens, like that's it. That's it. It's a wash. But you guys brought the
And
product that they wanted to see, and you guys put on a hell of a show. And they ran at you with a fistful of cash. They're like, "Here, take my money, take it." And
And
that is
and it
exactly what drew us into the product in the first
and
place.
it
You guys
opened
have
up.
great
I'm sorry,
production.
John. Let me step on you.
Yeah.
It opened up the
No, go
doors for
ahead.
you guys to jump into to other markets as well. So, like you were saying, finding it's not like it hasn't been done before, right? It's not the promoter; it's having the right promoter. And where I want to ask you is, a lot of people that we've spoken to have been gracious enough to talk to over the last 4 or 5 months with this Beyond the Bell. COVID comes up and it takes a hit, right? Like wherever they're at, their area takes a hit. It almost sounds like that was the polar opposite for Portugal, because of COVID, the guys and girls down there, pretty much said fuck this mentality of I'm only working here. Like this is where I work. It's almost like they gave you guys, guys down here in Portugal. It had a different effect, and one that is you're seeing the fruits of that effects now, here and now, as you're
Well,
progressing
I
forward.
think we see the fruits of those in other places too. I think realistically, and like he was talking about when COVID came to Portugal and COVID really affected the industry in general, it caused this vacuum effect where no one could get together and have a show, but the passion for the industry never went anywhere. And then all of a sudden, bam, the gates are open again, and we have a void to fill. And those of you like you that had a passion for the industry and wanted to do it again or wanted to get back into it or got bit by the bug of the ring, however it was that it affected everybody individually, they all just kind of poured back in. And there were so many places that didn't survive COVID, the businesses that closed and the venues that shut down and the things that we see, are no longer being put together. But there's this new brand coming out after the fact. And it isn't just in Portugal, it's pretty much everywhere. Everywhere wanted to get wrestling back, and you guys have found a new way to do that there.
and yeah, and like so, and honest, like of course COVID was terrible, right? I'm not gonna try and be there and be like,
And
yeah, good,
absolutely,
but like,
and we've covered that too. Like COVID,
right,
yes, caused a lot of horrible things to happen, but in the aftermath, we are seeing
yeah.
these new kinds of things open up for people with new ideas and new opportunities after the closures.
Yeah, because it's really what happened. So like, yeah, so like COVID happened. Okay, so like I left the place I was working, and there were people like, so that's the case of like Paulo and guys that are on my shows like Demio and stuff, guys like that. That just I just started trading almost, and like suddenly like there's COVID and like they cannot actually wrestle, and like everybody just wanted to wrestle, right? And so like when COVID quote unquote went away, um, suddenly like so the wrestlers they just want to do wrestling. So that's why when I had this idea for WrestleFest and like I started talking to them, like because most of the guys I legit didn't know personally. I just knew they were good wrestlers, and I was like, "Hey, you barely know me. Do you want to be on my show?" And everybody just said yes immediately. That you just were they just accepted to commit to the project. It's like they just wanted to wrestle, and at the same time on the fan standpoint, again before COVID, wrestling it was hard for Portuguese wrestling shows to actually get, like, if you got 100 people, it was like, wow, we got 100 people, right? And then COVID happened, and I guess people were like, okay, maybe it's time that we start going to stuff because we don't know when we won't be able to go to stuff anymore. Whatever it is, whether it is going to a restaurant or going, and that included wrestling. And now every promotion, and I'm not just talking WrestleFest, because like again, I started WrestleFest, but I still started working for the other companies. So like I work for everybody that wants me now. I just don't care. I just want to wrestle.
Hmm.
And every show in Portugal now, like 100 is almost the minimum. Every show is around 150 to 200, as I said, which that only started the trend after COVID. I was joking with Paolo and Damian and the young guys who are on my shows, because I was like, you know what? I started wrestling in 2013, and I've been on shows where there were literally 7 people,
Hmm.
7 people in a crowd,
Oh, got you beat.
and
I got you beat.
yeah.
Three.
All
Three
right, yeah.
paying people. 1999. I shit you not.
All right. And I was joking with them because I was like, I've been on shows with 7 people. You have never wrestled in front of less than 100. At that point, they had never wrestled in front of less than 100 people. So like, I'm not like wrestling is like it's good right now. Like I'm not saying we're like, of course we're not the UK or anything, but like you can run shows pretty much almost every month and have at least 100 people. That's pretty cool, I think.
Dude, for a
For,
growing
hey,
indie market, that's
Yeah.
that's all you need for a solid foundation because that will just grow from there.
well,
Mhm.
let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about you in your career thus
Yeah.
far
Hmm.
in professional wrestling, and we'll get back to some of the WrestleFest stuff here in just a little bit. I'm
Of
sure
course,
it's
of
gonna
course, of course.
tie into to each other.
Hmm.
You said that you started in 2013, so you're going on 11 years
Yes.
now. And obviously, throughout this conversation, you've already shed some light that you've traveled to Canada, to Japan, and several other locations. When you decided that you wanted to get into professional wrestling, what led you to that? What was the bug that bit you? What
And
got you?
how does that work there, knowing that the opportunities in training schools are so limited? Like how what yeah, I want to know all about how you got into that and what drove you to get there and how in fact you got involved in a school in the first place.
Okay. So, so it's funny because so I'm Portuguese. Okay, my parents are Portuguese, but I wasn't actually born in Portugal. So, I was born in Switzerland, and grew up there up until the age of 15. And my parents are both Portuguese. And when I was 15, they were like, "Hey, we're going back to Portugal." So I only moved to Portugal when I was 15 years old. But the thing is, so like I discovered wrestling while I was in Switzerland. Just WWE on TV, right?
Mhm.
And at that time, and I think that's the case for everybody that lives in a country where there's literally no wrestling. Because at that point, Switzerland, it was even worse than Portugal. There was like no wrestling. It just didn't exist, right? Uh, and So I just thought it was an American thing, Like I just thought, yeah, there's a wrestling company called WWE. It's in the States. Only Americans get to do it. So like it never even like crossed my mind like that there was like you could be a wrestler, you know. And then
Oh, dude, don't
uh,
feel too bad. There are people here in America that know that we can't get there either. So,
and I ended up through TV discovering that there was wrestling in France because actually France was a big market for wrestling already back then, and France is like border to Switzerland. So I was like, oh, okay. So one day I'm going to be an adult, and I'm just going to go to France. You know, it's closer than the States, and I'm going to go to France and be a wrestler. But that's like kids thing. But then so my parents tell me that I need to go to that we're moving to Portugal, and in my head I was like, oh, if there's wrestling in France, maybe there's wrestling in other places. And so I just Googled it, and I discovered there were actually wrestling schools in Portugal. So the Wrestling Portugal School, which is one of the promotions that still runs to this day, and I still work for them, and I work for them now. I mean,
Hmm.
I discovered I was like, I'm gonna move when I move to Portugal. I'm gonna go train there. And so I moved to Portugal in 2009, and at that time I was a very shy person. Plus, I'm moving from another country. I do speak Portuguese because my parents taught me, but it's one thing to learn Portuguese and not speak it. So when you show up to the country, you have kind of a weird accent. So kids make fun of you because you have a weird accent. Plus, you come from like it was a tough time, man. And plus, I was like very, very, very small. I was 50 kilos, which I don't know how much it is in pounds, but it's not a lot. uh, I was like very, very skinny, and I was like, and I wasn't athletic at all. So I just was scared to go to the Wrestling Portugal school and try wrestling, you know. Uh, and
110
like,
pounds.
okay, so yeah, very small, right?
Yes.
um,
Yes.
and and so I was very so like again, I was 15 years old, 15, 16. I was afraid of being like of just going there, but the school had like a good name because the main trainer he had trained with Lance Storm in Canada, you know.
Hmm.
So like I knew that like if I would go there and train, like it would be good training. But I was just scared of going. Okay. So fast forward to 2012, and WWE goes to Portugal for a show, right? And so I'm in line because I actually won like a contest on online to get like a meet and greet. At the time, it was with Wade Barrett and Natalia,
Nice.
and I got in line, and the dude in line with me, who actually now wrestles for WrestleFest as well, it's Baltazar. But at that time, it wasn't Baltazar. It was just a dude that was training wrestling, and he just turned to me in line and he was like, "Hey, do you want to be a wrestler or do you want to train?" And I was like, yeah." And at that time, he was training in another school, which I'd never heard about, which was called CTW. And it was like, okay, so I just started training. If you want, here's my Facebook, because at the time that's what was big, right?
At least you
And
didn't say MySpace. At least you
I,
skipped that
I
joke.
yeah,
thought
All
we
right.
were going to go see Tom for a second.
I thought so too. I was like, oh, here we go.
yeah, I'm slightly too young, I think, for like I never, yeah,
We
but
just aged
Oh
ourselves. It's
yeah, I
fine.
joke with people all the time. I tell you, I'm the get off my lawn guy. That's who I am.
but but yeah, like so like that was late 2012, and then on January 5th, 2013, Baltazar took me to CTW. I did my first ever training. I never left, and so I was able to train there and just start training there. And like in terms of training, I think it was a tremendous school. I learned a lot. The promoter was always like, "I'm gonna start and bring people from the UK for seminars, or people from America, or whatever." So like,
Oh, that's
I was
awesome.
able to have a lot of training with guys from the UK. I was able to have training with people from the US. At that time, I was already like a big wrestling nerd, so I watched a lot of indie wrestling. Uh, when I was like younger, my favorite promotions in the world were Chikara, and of course I probably know about it.
Hmm.
Chikara and CZW were my two favorite promotions, and so it's funny because it's like you couldn't pick two more different promotions,
Yeah,
but
those
yeah,
are very, very opposite
yeah,
ends of the spectrum.
exactly. But that's me though. I love all wrestling, and so like I was into like a lot of like indie wrestling, and that promoter he brought some guys like I was able to wrestle a Shikara wrestler called Frightmare, on like my sixth match or something. Like, so that was pretty cool. And he had partnerships with UK promotions and eventually a Japanese promotion called Eat Up, which allowed me to go not only to the UK but also then to Japan with through him. In Japan, Japan is probably like the biggest match of my life. Let's be honest. There was like 1,000 people there, and I was teaming with my trainer, with an Indian wrestler called Bailan Haki, who's been in AEW, so some people might not know of him, and Tajiri, which most
Oh,
of everybody know. So, so yeah, so like that was big for me, and but like again, this promoter was like it was awesome as a trainer, as a promoter, and as a person, not that good. So that's why I ended up leaving eventually. But I'm very thankful for the doors that he gave me and the training that he gave me because that allowed me to right. And I just want to shout out Canada here because Canada. So there's this promotion called Interspecies Wrestling in Canada, and what happened was I just met the promoter through Twitter one day. He was just looking for a video editor to do a music video for one of his shows, and I'm actually good at video editing. I was like, "Hey, I'll do it for you." And then he said, "Hey, thank you. You're a wrestler?" I was like, "Yeah, I just had my first match." "Oh, okay. One day I'm booking you." And he did. He did. He put me in the ring with Evil Uno, which some people might
Mm-hmm.
know actually from AEW now and stuff. Like, of course, I knew him from Chikara, so that was like the biggest moment. Like at that time, I was like, "What?" So I wrestled him, first match in Canada, and yeah, I ended up going back, becoming very good friends with that promoter, and now I'm lucky enough to have this. I'm sorry, I need to shut it off. No,
don't be
Hey,
sorry. Do that.
that's the Interspecies Wrestling King of Crazy title, which is the main title of the promotion, which was also my first ever title.
I
Which
remember you posted about that win on Twitter and having a pretty good follow up for the lead up to that match. You were very excited about that win.
dude, like, because like again, like we all know what wrestling is, right?
Hmm?
But
It's a
like,
soap opera about men in no pants fighting over belts.
but
you mean
someone give like
what
if a
belts like that?
that's a very nice belt. But like a promoter trusting you to put the belt on you, uh, especially me, like I'd never had a belt, and like I would tell people that all the time. Like I own my own promotion, I could easily put the belt on me if I wanted, but I always said like
Oh,
my first belt.
don't amazing red yourself.
But I always said like my first belt, I'm not gonna put like I would refuse. I was like I'm never going to put my first belt on me. That's gonna be someone else. So it took 10 years to finally get one.
But you just said
Um,
it though. It's the sense of the promoter believing in you and what
yeah.
you are bringing to the table inside that ring. Now, we've seen a couple of your matches, right? We're going to be watching a lot more,
Mhm.
obviously, and some of the things that we can connect with when you're in the ring, at least for me, was your ability to sell and your ability to
Hmm.
literally it's almost like you had a different perception in ring, right? What I mean by that is you controlled the narrative of the story that's being told while you were in the ring. Like that,
Hmm.
it, to me, is signs of a good wrestler because you're getting the psychology of it down. You're kind of the ring general, if you will, of
Well,
the.
more than just a good wrestler, but having a head for the industry and what the
There you go.
overall theme of the show is. It isn't just about you or your match, it's about the whole story. And you guys portray that very well on your shows. You guys have an idea and an agenda and you build that angle, you build the story and you go out there and you tell it. And that's a talent that oftentimes is really hard for people to learn. It's something that you really have to be paying attention to. And like you said, you were a wrestling nerd way back in the day and you've been watching wrestling most of your life. So picking up on those kinds of nuances and applying it to your own company is very important. And a lot of promotions that maybe don't make it, that's one of the factors that they're lacking is the longevity of the story being more important than just exactly what happens in the moment. And you guys portray that exceedingly well.
That's like, thank you first of all. And actually, like, that's even more important for me and for us, like, than the matches. uh, we really want to adapt WrestleFest, at least the shows that I run, to like we want to make good shows that would be good for everybody, even people who have never watched wrestling before, and that includes trying to keep the shows as short as possible. If you watch all the WrestleFest shows except one that is not completely on it, but there's a few matches, but like every complete show that you will find on the WrestleFest channel, it will not go over 2 hours or 2 hours and a few minutes, because for us, like wrestling fans, we're used to big shows, like 3 hours, 4 hour shows. Someone who has never watched wrestling is not gonna be there for 4 hours. So like
Yeah, the
you keep it
fatigue
short.
factor is a thing.
Exactly. So we keep shows short, not a lot of matches. At max, we do 6 matches per show. That's it. Um, and we always make sure like every match has to be different, whether it is by the stipulation or whatever, or the style of match. Try to make it as different as possible from other matches, and also everybody knows their role. It's like, of course, that's something that everybody says, but we really try to make it like the if you're the first match, please don't go 45 minutes. Like just and we like for me that's the most important part. It's like when you run a show, we're all part of the same team and we work to the goal of the show, you know? And so I'm happy that you guys say it, that you've noticed it, that the show is well put together and all that stuff, because that's really probably the most important part of putting together shows when we think about it.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that we look at. Production of a program is probably one of the biggest things that's out there. I do want to backtrack for just a second and go back to the
Mm-hmm.
championship that you displayed a
Sure.
moment ago, because
Hmm.
by them putting the belt on you, means that they're going to be bringing you back and bringing you back and bringing you back. And first of all, let me congratulate you on picking up that strap,
Thank
and really like hone in on that for just a moment, because again, the promoter sees something in you, right? Like that's why they put titles on people, is because there's something there. I want to ask you this before my ADD kicks in and I forget. When you
Mm-hmm.
started to break out and actually do some traveling, with Canada and Japan and all
Mm-hmm.
points in between, what did that look like for you? Like, how did you process that I'm now about to really step out of my comfort zone and have to trust people in other countries at this point, with my body, right? Number one. And was there anything in your head that, uh, you know, may have tried to steer you away from traveling versus actually hopping on that plane and making that shot?
Like I was always very nervous, because I never I'm not saying pessimistic, but I've never I'm not a dream big person, you know. I've never said, "Oh, one day I'm gonna main event WrestleMania," like a lot of people say, like, "Hey, one day I'm gonna." No, like I have very short goals, and I live by the day. So I was like, when I first started training, I was like, I'm gonna have one match. Then when I have a match, I was like, I want to have 10. I want to have 100. Okay, maybe I can wrestle outside of Portugal once. That was my little thing. So
Hmm.
when the opportunities showed up, like I was always very nervous, but I was always also very happy, because I was like, okay, regardless, like I can die tomorrow. I did more in wrestling than I ever thought I would, you know. And for me, the most the craziest moment. So when I went to the UK, I was happy to go to the UK, but the first time I didn't like I was just it was just it was very similar. Like that's the first thing that hit me was like, okay, that's very similar to Portugal in a way. Like believe it or not, like and the first thing that hit me was like, you know what? I'm as good as some of the guys here. Like it's not because I'm from a country that has no wrestling history or whatever that I'm less good. So actually, when I first went outside, which was the UK, that got me a lot of confidence because I was like, okay, I come from Portugal, but I'm good. Like I can hang with those guys. But the moment that actually like changed me, I guess, was actually when I first went to the to first when I went to Canada, and right after when I went to the US, because it was like really one after the other. Um, and like now I'm on shows with people that I used to watch on indie shows that I used to like find on the internet, and like now I'm on the same shows as them. I'm wrestling them. They're telling me that I what I did was good. Like I'm part of the team. So like me, who's never had a dream of becoming like that big wrestling star, and like for me, it means just as much to be on an indie show with a guy that I used to watch on Chikara shows or CCW than it would mean to be on a WWE pay per view, whatever. It just means just as much to me. Um, I just realized that like, okay, now I'm a wrestler. You know, that's when I actually just like actually going abroad. That's what changed my mind to. I'm a guy that does wrestling to I'm a wrestler.
That's where it
You know, because
clicked.
there's a difference.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
that's
Like,
where one of my next
hey,
questions was when did it click for you?
yeah,
Go ahead.
like, hey, I'm a wrestler now. Like, I'm a wrestler. I just wrestled a dude that was like I just wrestled a dude that was on big indies. I just wrestled the dude that was on Ring of Honor, for example. Hey, I just went to Japan and I wrestled fucking Tajiri. The dude,
Right?
like,
Like
as
that's got to be the revelation for me, dude. If I'm in a ring, if I'm inside a ring with Tajiri, I'm like, no, I made it. I'm here. But what else do you
exactly,
do?
and and do I think I'm the best wrestler? No. Like sometimes I even think that I'm not good, but I don't care. Like there's stuff
What?
that you will never take away from me, and
And
like I've
it's love
did
and
this
passion. It's the love and
exactly.
passion behind it,
Hmm.
right? Like it's just like with our channels to a degree. We don't give a
Hmm.
fuck if anybody clicks our shit and watches it because we're gonna do it anyway. Why?
Yeah.
Because we love it. We're going to do it because that it's our passion. So to see that you adopted that mentality of, you know what, I don't give a fuck if I'm good or not. What I care about is the overall product and the love that I have for it. You're 100% correct. Nobody can take that away from you at any point.
And actually, I want to do that. So now that I have a camera in front of me, I will do that just so people that can watch this just understand. This, as far as I'm concerned, this is a world title. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, that's a title that's been defended in the US, in Canada, in the UK. It's now in Portugal. It's going to be defended in Portugal. So you can say whatever you want about what's a world title, what does that mean or whatever. For me, when you have a title that's been defended in 4 different countries, in 2 different continents, that's a world championship. So people can make fun of me or whatever. As far as I'm concerned, I have a world title. Uh, do I if I deserve it, if I'm good enough, whatever. I don't care about that. That's not what I'm saying. But you will never take away the fact that I have a world title, and that for a little guy from Switzerland that moved to Portugal when he was 15, which are 2 countries where there's no wrestling, holding a fucking world title, it means something to me. Whether wrestling is real or not or whatever, I don't care. This is real. Like that's tangible. You can hold it.
That belt is on your bed, in your hand, by your
Exactly.
side. It exists. It is reality. They can all suck it. That is.
Exactly.
I love that so much.
And I think that we just got a little nugget for WrestleFest 3. I think I just heard him say the belt's being defended. I would imagine that that's where we're going to see that
Yes, it will.
championship. Aha! Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
it.
I allow myself to say it here. yes, it will be defended
Well,
because
I hope
there
that.
was
You
no
guys stay
way
tuned.
I'm not
Stay
defending
tuned
this
to those
belt.
Twitter feeds and the socials to find out about the booking for that pay-per-view. It is
Uh,
going to be fire.
I am not. I'm gonna mute it just so I don't see any spoilers, and we can sit down and watch it together after the show comes out. But I say that to say, going back to it, getting in there internationally, it really kind of it does open up a whole different avenue because if you can
Mhm.
hang, not only hang, but you have these other guys telling you, hey, you had this good match. You're getting in there with the likes of Tajiri. I do have to ask this: did he kick the shit out of you? Did he hit you with one of
Uh,
those
so
kicks?
so it was in my team,
Oh,
so
okay.
that was so
So you got a
was fine.
pass. Got it.
Lucky
But
you.
actually, so there was a guy on the opposite team. His name is Fumino Ryabe. Some people might not know about him, but like he's starting to get big in like the indies, even in the states. He's been coming to like GCW and stuff. So, like some people have known him. He's been on like the last like blood sport that GCW does and stuff.
Hmm.
He hits very hard. He was on the opposite team. He kicked me so hard. Like I've never been kicked as hard as I've been kicked by this man. I wanted like literally like he kicked me so hard that I wanted to scream, but like no noise came out of my mouth.
You had the.
Exactly. I loved it though, because that's what you're in Japan for.
I was
But
about
yeah,
to say there's something special about that Japanese sport, man.
exactly.
They have got they are by far the hardest hitting guys out there.
Here's what I love right now, and what I'm digging about this conversation because we're talking about a lot of different things. We're talking about WrestleFest. We're talking about you. A minute ago you're talking about how it doesn't matter what you know about wrestling for the WWE or being on a WWE show, et cetera, et cetera. I'm more prone to talk about for a few minutes the legacy that you're leaving now in Portugal, right? Like you're setting roots. You're as far as the wrestling scene with WrestleFest. Like it's almost like this could be a really, really good thing for the market that's not going anywhere anytime soon as long as you and your backers that are working with you continue to put the product out there. And I do want to ask you this about it. Has it ever crossed your mind, or have you guys, you and your partners with WrestleFest, have you guys talked about sitting down and maybe making more of a monthly go of it? Has that something that has been discussed? Is that something that you guys are even interested in, or do you prefer every other month to once a quarter?
So yes, we talked about it. So here's the thing. So I think eventually it will happen. And so what happens was so like currently the format that we have for WrestleFest is pretty good because it's like so we have one every few months, but we try to load them up and like to do big shows and good shows and stuff. Of course, when you start running every month, you cannot do that, okay? Because
Right.
you have to build. Like here, it's like just easy because it's like, oh, the last like then so we're in July, right? The last one was in March. We had all this time just put on a banger because we don't know when the next one's going to be. If you're gonna run like every month, it's gonna be, of course, different. Um, so without trying to bore you too much with the details, so
Not possible.
yeah, so WrestleFest now. So we're currently working on make it a real structured thing, like an official company kind of. Okay,
Hmm.
and once that's set up, we will hopefully be able to get uh like still like the same way we've been working with the cities now. But instead of having be just like, hey, here's that much for this show, do that show. They will just give us like a yearly help, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you're a wrestling association, here's for the year. And so hopefully with that, we will always have, because that's one thing that I want to make very clear and like I'm not becoming rich with WrestleFest at all.
No,
Okay,
no.
all the money that we get invested in shows. So that's why I cannot do shows every month even if I wanted to because I just don't have the funds, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
every time I get a budget, I invested it in a show. Hopefully then that's our goal. And again, I'm not saying it will happen. I shouldn't say it will happen, but I'm confident it will. Uh, that we're gonna have the opportunity to have be financed still by the towns, but in a different way, which we would be able to then run every month and have, or at least have more shows. I don't know about every month, but running more frequently instead of just uh, I show every quarter or anything.
Well, I asked you that because just based on what I've seen, I won't speak for John. I'll let John speak for himself on that in just a minute. I think that you guys have the talent to do it. I think that the fan base is there to do something. You know, like it would make me happy, right? Like because you guys are being successful, number one. But it's also given all the guys and girls down there another date. With
Mhm.
and getting them in the ring, and yeah, is it a bigger
Yep.
a bigger term picture or a bigger picture? Yeah, absolutely. Is it something that is feasible? I totally think at some point that you guys could make something happen, especially if you can get the different parishes and different cities to pitch in. I don't think that I've ever heard that before, and to know that they being the different cities, number one, see the potential, right, and see that the right guys are behind this. You and your partners, like that. It takes trust has to be built, right? You've already shown these cities that you're the guy, that you can make this happen. And I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. This is the
No,
truth.
no.
This is the truth. This is real talk. You've already shown that you're capable. And really and truly, all it takes is, one good idea, one good story, and eventually may be able to get to a point to where you can start charging tickets. Not saying that's something that you want to do, right? Because I'm all about the free shows for the community. I think that's a
Yeah,
whole.
like
Go ahead.
Yeah.
eventually that's like also how you're gonna like grow up, I guess. Like like I'm like currently like so like I don't like burning steps. You know what I mean? Like I like to go step by step and growing slowly and uh like maybe one day we're gonna be running shows and charging tickets and like I don't know, but like like I like to go slow, Again, I'm not a dream big person. Sometimes it's bad, but like I don't picture myself, oh, one day I'm gonna run 10,000 people and have the NWA title in the main event. I don't know, like not saying it won't happen, okay? Because it's like, but like I just give myself small goals. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And like we will, I will try to just do them uh like slowly, building stuff uh and sometimes it's like it can seem like like really small goals. But for example, like I'm gonna give you an example. Like one thing that I always thought was lacking in Portugal was tag team wrestling. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there was no promotion in Portugal has ever had a tag team championship. That just did not exist in Portugal. So if you watch all the WrestleFest shows, there's at least one tag team match on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to that the tag teams that you see on WrestleFest, they're actual tag teams. So you have me and Ricky, we're SFB, we have matching gear, we have a tag team name. The Very Stew, they have matching gear, they have a tag team name. Worst Generation, they have a tag. Like I'm trying to make real tag teams because my goal is to one day have a real tag team division on a promotion, you know, and like that can seem like a small goal, but that for me
It's a
that's
massive goal.
like a small thing, you know. Like I want to have I want to have a good shows. Okay, now I want to have more good shows, but I want to add stuff. I want to add a tag team division. Eventually, I want to have more women's matches because currently we only have one woman in Portugal. I hope we can make girls that come to watch the shows. We make them want to train. So one day I can have more women's wrestlers that I can book on shows. Because again, I try to bring as little outsiders as I can. I want to focus on Portuguese wrestling. I'm not racist or
No,
anything.
you want to
I'm
build your
just saying,
backyard. And
yeah,
No,
that's
that
that
I
makes
want
makes
sense.
perfect sense
exactly.
because
I
these are
want
the
to build
guys.
my local wrestling. So and so like that. Those are my thing. Is like now try to bring more girls to have a women's division. Then once the shows have stuff that I love on it, okay, now let's bring in a foreign star one day and do a bigger show. Let's try and run this big venue and charge ticket. Let's grow, 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 grow. And one day I'm gonna have a show in a stadium with with the NWA champion on the card. I don't know, but like I'll always try and look at step by step. But like when people come to me and be like, "Hey, when are we doing this?" I was like, "Before I do this, I need to do this and this and this and this and this and this." Like that's the way I've always pictured my life, and that's the way I will always picture WrestleFest. I don't want to fly too fast and reach to the sun too fast and burn my wings. I just want
No
to go
reason to Icarus
slowly.
yourself.
Exactly.
No, I mean I get it. That makes sense, man. I think that you guys are onto something. I think that I first thing I told Paulo when we talked to him was, all right, listen, I forgive you for beating my guy, right? Because like WrestleFest 2, I marked out for the main event just on the entrance alone, and uh, gave Paulo a little shit for
I was
knocking.
so happy about the about your reactions. To be honest, like when I was watching and I was like,
That's my
yeah, that's
dude. Like, and it's just because I don't care. Like, I'm openly gay. I'm married. I've got a husband. And, we've talked to several people who are LGBTQ on the show. And one of the biggest things, like, that I bring up to them is just how far wrestling has come. Because when I was coming
Yeah.
up in the industry, it wasn't discussed. It wasn't talked
yeah.
about. I saw people get ousted from locker rooms. I have seen some pretty vile shit. And it caused me to go into my shell and not live my true self and not be my true self, right? So when I see this guy come out on WrestleFest 2 with the dancers and the music and like just the entire ambiance, like this is my people. I cannot root against this guy. And then fucking Paulo beat him, and I was like, nah. I can't even be mad at Paulo because the match was fucking great. And truthfully, it was a solid match. And something about Paulo, like to me, it's crazy as hell that this guy's 24 years old. He is
And he's
still.
so and
He's got so
I've
much.
never I've never seen like he's one of the guys that is the most committed to wrestling that I've ever seen. Like if you tell him like literally if you tell him, "Hey, let's go and do a training session every day of the week." He will come every day of the week and stay 3 hours and just wrestle because he loves it.
Uh,
Uh, like,
I'd be building
like
around it.
like yeah, and again, when like I'd never met him ever. Like the first time I talked to him, he messaged me because we were supposed to wrestle on that show that was canceled, and that's the first time I ever spoken to him. Like I'd never and like, but like just like you, you could see that there was something special, and like that's the case with every wrestler on that show. Like some of them are my friends that I've started wrestling with. Um, Milan, which is the guy that wrestled Paolo on the first show,
Hmm.
like I know him since like first day of wrestling school. Uh, so like some of them like I've known since the beginning, but like I don't. But like most of them, they're on my shows because they're great. Like I don't care. Like if you might like that's also something that I really want to make it very important. It's like of course I want to be friendly with everybody. Like he's just better when you're friendly with everybody. But like I don't want people to be on my shows because they're my friends. If you're on my show, is because I think you're good. And I always do like that pre-show meeting that promoters do and
Hmm.
try to rally up the troops. And I always say it, and people think that I'm just saying it for saying it or just being humble or whatever. But I genuinely mean it, and that I don't know what that means about me. But I always say like the only person that's on this show because like for another reason other than they're very good is me because that's my own show. So of course I'm gonna book myself on my own show. But everybody else, you're here because you're great. I don't like I'm not you're not here because you're my friends. I don't care if you're my friends. If you're good, you have a shot. And like so that's also very important. So like and like whatever like Paolo deserves to be on those shows. Damian was one of the worst generation wrestlers on that team. I think he's 19 years old, or he just turned 20.
Hmm.
Like,
There's a couple of cats that
like
are
I'm
ins.
literally 10 years older than him, and like he's like he's way better now that I will ever be probably, and like oh yes, he's gonna be on my shows. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like the future looks very bright in Portugal. Like I can tell you this. Like there are a few like veterans, and that's funny because like the veterans in Portugal is like me, who's 30 years old, and like Lobo, who's like 34, and like we're not old by any means, but like that just shows how youthful Portuguese wrestling is, and like the future is bright. That's just what I'm saying. Like hopefully when I'm 50 years old and and like I'm just an old promoter. Like I will be able to run more WrestleFest because all the guys they're just so young and so good already. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you guys are setting the you've planted the seeds right with WrestleFest 1. You've started watering the seeds with WrestleFest 2. Right, WrestleFest 3 literally tomorrow night as of the show airing. Very interested to see how that shakes. We have the beautiful thing about what we do, right? When we discover the independents and we discover these different feds, like we start following you, we start chatting, like we peel the curtain back. Yeah, we were supposed to sit down and have this conversation probably 6 weeks ago, but when I hit you up and I said, listen, when's the next show? You told me when the next show was, and I was like, what can we do here to help put a little bit of eyes on what you're doing? And we put together a plan. And like we have you on Beyond the Bell today, John just totally stole
I gave up.
your center screen there, so I'll have to edit that out, but it's not a problem.
Sorry.
You've started laying the foundation. You've planted the seeds. Now it's time to watch it grow. And you've got the biggest opportunity with some of these younger talents to really set the pace for what Portugal wrestling could be and what it could come back to. And I think that's the win. That's the big picture win. is if you can build the market back up slowly but surely, brick by brick. You talk about having a plan. You got to get this to get to this to get to this. I totally see in the next 5 years the market's going to be growing, and you and your partners are going to be largely responsible for that. And to me, that is a beautiful fucking thing. John, I've dominated for a minute. I'm so sorry, buddy. I'm gonna come over to you.
You're
Go
fine.
ahead,
I've been
go.
having some technical.
And as he said,
Well,
difficulties. He froze
exactly. That
again.
was such a perfect timing for the for the
For him
technical
to
issue.
technically difficult himself out of the conversation with the state of professional wrestling, with where it's at, and where arguably right now there's a big boom on the independent scene for your market specifically. What do you see, or what can whether it's the fans, whether it's the talent, whether it's you, like what are things that you could do to ensure that your market continues to thrive and continues to grow?
I think like really the most important thing is uh right, like literally try and make people know that we exist. Okay, because there's a lot of wrestling fans in Portugal, and when I say a lot of wrestling fans, I mean a lot of WWE fans, and even like and that like I have no idea about indie wrestling or especially about Portuguese wrestling. And so really the thing the most important thing I think for us is really try to really advertise as much as we can what we're doing. That's why I put the shows on YouTube, all of them. Uh, that's why doing stuff like what I'm doing with you guys is very important because even if they're not like it, even if like I'm doing this in English and it's for a different audience, some people from Portugal might just end up coming here and watch this and know about it. So like the really again like Portuguese wrestling is on a good is going good. The youth is awesome. Wrestlers are getting very good. Matches are very good. Shows are getting better and better. Like we just need more eyes, man. And I think so that's what I'm trying to do as more is like making people put their eyes on us because it's already starting to happen even like people who just don't watch any wrestling. You ask them who Roman Reigns is, they have no idea. But they know who I am. They know what WrestleFest is because they saw one show and they enjoyed it and they started coming to every show. And like I'm not even like I know these people. I didn't thought it would be possible, but there are people who are fans of Portuguese wrestling and that's the only wrestling they watch. Like like that's like we want more of that. I just want eyes. I just want people to just see what we're doing, and eventually that's gonna grow by itself
Just give it a shot.
because the quality is already there.
No
Like
shit.
I don't care. I'll say it's like wrestling. Portuguese wrestling is good, and I'm not saying. Of course, I will always be biased. I cannot not be right, but like I genuinely believe that like we are good, and all we really need is eyes and people to know that.
Hopefully, we can help bring you some eyes, man, because you guys are doing some great stuff. The entering work is solid. The storytelling is top notch. Production value is there. John, I'm gonna try and let you ask one more question if your shit doesn't freeze on you. Oh,
All
it's
right, I'm gonna make it really fast. When we talked with Paulo, one of the things that really stood out to me was that he was so hungry to get under a learning tree and try to devour as much knowledge as he could from every source available. And it doesn't just seem like that's a Paulo trait. It seems like everybody on your roster that you work with, all the guys in your market, they all have that same hunger. What is it about Portuguese wrestlers that makes them so hungry? Like we've seen lots of
Okay, so he froze, but he got the most of the question out, so I
Yep.
think I can answer that. So the thing is, again, that I think that's the same thing that I was saying. Is because like we need eyes, right? So like the Portuguese wrestlers, they want to get out there because they want to be able to just show the world. And like again, also the same thing is like you can get like there's 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 not a lot of wrestling in Portugal. There's not a lot of wrestling schools. There's not a lot of trainers. So even though we are good and we're very good, they will always have you will always have a ceiling here, okay? Because eventually when you've trained with everybody. And it's not like in the states, for example, where you can just travel state to state and have an infinity of trainers. And when I say
Mm-hmm.
an infinity, there's like an infinity from the old school guys. Like you can have like like I just when I'm on social media, I just saw like a poster for a seminar with Jerry Lynn, you
Yep.
know, like a huge veteran. Or you can have a seminar with like a current guy, you know, uh, or like in countries like the States or the UK, there's an infinity of learning experience, which you will not find here. So if you really, really want to know as much wrestling as you can, you will have to go abroad. And there are people who are just passionate about training and about wrestling. Paulo's one of them. He just wants to know everything and know every style. Like he's a genuine Kempo karate world champion. Like legitimately won an international tournament in karate. Like so that you would think that's his wrestling style, but he wants to be able to just do moonsaults and do high flying. So he wants to learn high fly. So there's not a million high flyers here. So let's go to Ireland to train with high flyers. Let's go to the UK. Let's go to Spain. Let's go like because again, wrestling in Portugal is very good, but they will always have this kind of ceiling because again, as I told you, there's less than 50 wrestlers here. So
I mean, don't say
like
always. You're growing the market. That
yeah, so we just want to
could
go.
change.
Yeah, obviously, but as of right now, so that's I guess what makes us like hungry and want to go abroad and train with other people. It's like because like we kind of need to, but like we also want to because we're all deep down we're all like crazy wrestling nerds and we just want to know every wrestling and like I've done it also like I've gone to seminars to the UK, I've gone to seminars to Spain just because I want to know every wrestling. I might not be good at every wrestling or use every wrestling, but I want to know all of it, so I'll just go.
Yeah, you put yourself in a position to where you might utilize that whatever you've learned in a different area. You might be able to put that into practice somewhere else. I totally get it.
And really when you think about it is like for us going to a different country sometimes it's less of a travel distance than some of the American guys going from state to state, you know. So like
Oh
so
yeah,
sometimes
we
it's
talked to Paulo
you know
about that.
so it's funny like oh I went to Spain to try to get like I went to Madrid for a seminar with Mike Quackenbush, who was Chikara's promoter. I went to Madrid to train with him. It's by car, it would be 6 hours away. Some states, you do 6 hours, a 6 hour drive, you stay in the same state. So,
Mm,
like, yeah,
makes sense. I get it, man.
yeah.
John, you got anything else before you freeze up, and then we'll get ready to tie a bow.
I wanted to touch on, you had mentioned earlier that, you don't know that you'll see an every month show or a weekly show or whatever. You want to build towards the future of having more shows, but you don't know what that looks like yet. The chances of you getting more shows is definite. The product is there, you got the roster is there, you guys have absolutely got the talent. Now it's just building that base opening up more venues and getting hooked up with other towns and other cities and other municipalities and getting those funds. But I think that you guys are absolutely taking the right course on the slow build and making sure that the product is right. There is no point in hitting the ground running if you've got a garbage product.
Yeah, no, that's definitely it. Again, like we're going slow and make sure that everything is right. Because like I'm
Enough
not
for
right. Yeah. So yeah, we're just trying to go like again, just build again as I was saying. Like you just build slowly. Just don't burn any steps.
That's the only way you can do it, man. And you're building a dynasty. I think that you've got some good things happening down in Portugal. We're totally 100% in on anything that you guys are doing down there.
yeah, you
Well,
guys have definitely made it to the rotation wheel.
yep, we have what we call must see television on our Monday night streams and WrestleFest and
Mm-hmm.
anything that we can catch out of Portugal that features you guys or has some of you guys on it. Send me a link. That's all you got to do. If they're full shows, we'll watch them. If they're
Mm-hmm.
individual matches, I have other shows for that too. Anything that we can
Yep.
do to help get you guys and get your names out there and what you're doing, don't hesitate. This isn't a one-time thing. This is a in the for the foreseeable future thing. At least my relationship with you and our channel's relationship with you and what you guys have going on. If you have
It
made it
may have started with a birthday party, but it's bigger than that now.
And
Definitely.
if you have made it this far in the interview, right above his head, you see his Instagram, you see his Twitter. Well, I need for you to go ahead and go give him a follow. And if you're going down below, you're going to see all the links for WrestleFest, for their YouTube, for anything WrestleFest related. Well, need for you to go down there and hit that subscribe button because every little bit helps. And the best part about it, it's fucking free. It costs you nothing. If you can't, buy merch, if you can't get a T-shirt, you can follow, you can subscribe, you can share, and you may know somebody who can purchase some merchandise or who may be in the area to catch a show. You never know what'll happen with independent wrestling. Nelson, I know for myself, and I don't know if John's frozen. We appreciate you and what you have going on and appreciate your time. We know that it is super late, or should we say early morning for you as we're recording this. I'm stoked for what you guys have to come. I'm really looking forward to getting with you and watching back WrestleFest 1 and 3 when we get to 3 when it's out. I think that in the next 5 years, you are going to see the growth that you're looking for. Because just in this conversation, you strike me as an individual that doesn't deal with failure. So if you get your plan and you stick to your plan, no reason why you can't put the Portugal scene back on the map. You and all the talented people that we are seeing coming out of Portugal. Do you have anything that you want to say to our channel before we sign off on the interview today?
So I just want to say like thank you. I really really appreciate everything. Like again, like you guys taking the time to doing this to help us. That's just like that's of course like there, there was no way I would not accept the invitation because like things just like again, I just want more eyes on Portuguese wrestling, and you guys are helping me to do that, and I really, really appreciate. So anything you guys need from me, I'll try to help out as well. Like, just I think you guys are doing a tremendous job, and with everything you do for independent wrestling, and thank thank you for also applying this for Portuguese wrestling. Because yeah, our growth is going to be also thanks to you. I so like yeah, thank you very much.
Well, it is Portugal week for the next 2 weeks on the channel. We've got you this week. We have Paulo next week. We've got Spotlight on Paulo that'll be dropping Monday through Friday, or Monday through Thursday next week, to continue the publicity that we can give for what you guys have going on. John, are you frozen? Are you there?
I'm
I
here.
feel like I have to ask you now. Go ahead and sign us out, my man. Do your thing, and hopefully you don't freeze on us.
Man, I feel like you got to ask me too. I've got to ask myself several times in this show. It's been fabulous so far. I love my internet. It's great. One of the things, Nelson, is that while our growth, is really surprising to us, and we are doing whatever we can to help get eyeballs on your product. Without your product, we wouldn't have things to put eyeballs in front of our fans, and we wouldn't be able to enjoy the product that you're producing. So the thanks is all to you, sir. You guys are doing a fabulous job over there. You're putting together a product that is not only entertaining but solid. You guys seem like every part of what you're doing is designed to build the business for your market and to make it not only enjoyable for the fans but sustainable for the long run. So applauds to you and your rosters and the guys over there that are busting their ass to make this product as good as it is. Without you, we wouldn't have product to entertain us. So thanks to you and you guys out there at home watching this thing. If you guys can, you can. You have fingers. You're watching. Go follow all the links. Drop the stuff below. These guys out here are really working hard to get their market available to you and entertain each and every one of us. And we are here for every second of it. Those savage elbows, you know where they go, right there in the ding bell. So you never miss a beat. What we got going on behind the curtain here. We've got new guests, new shows, new stuff, all wrestling related right here on the channel, always coming out. New stuff every day. Get behind the curtain with us and find out what we've got going on in early drops and get your requests in to Wrestle Request Live, where we watch the things that you're passionate about and share our passion for the industry with you. As always, guys and gals, we love each and every one of your faces, and we'll see you next time.